welcome to the Cinema ATL podcast. The Cinema ATL podcast is a weekly podcast that examines the world of entertainment through the lens of local Atlanta filmmakers. That would be us, your hosts. I'm Michael D. Friedman, and that is
Martin Kelly.
And in this week's episode, we're taking a look back at Bill Murray's forgotten comedic gem, Quick Change from 1990. But first, Martin, why don't you tell our listeners how they can help the podcast out?
Well, you can help us out by commenting and rating and subscribing on whatever format you listen to this podcast on. And there's plenty of them out there. So Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, also on Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and YouTube.
Yes, and we also want to hear from you. You can always tweet us at CinemaATL or at my personal account at Badger33.
Or hit me up at Marte_Real1.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at CinemaATL Podcast. And actually this week we've started a new Movie Madness tournament, and you can vote. You can help us decide what the best sports movie is of all time, bracket style.
Definitely. That's a fun thing. And also you can check us out at cinemaatl.com.
Well, all right. Now that we got all that out of the way, why don't we take a look at Quick Change? All right, for our forgotten film selection this week, I picked Quick Change. It's one of my favorite classic Bill Murray comedies, so let's talk about that. So yeah, 1990's Quick Change is Bill Murray's first, and to this point, only directorial feature. He co-directed this film with his screenwriter partner, Howard Franklin. It's a really clever tale of a man named Grimm, played by Murray, who robs a bank dressed in a clown costume, and together with his partners, Phyllis, played by Geena Davis, and Loomis, played by Randy Quaid, they find out that pulling the heist is the easy part. The hard part is getting out of New York City. And through a series of mishaps, the trio are forced on a wild goose chase around the city as they struggle to make it to the airport for their getaway flight. That's the synopsis. What I really like about this movie is I just think it's the humor is a mix of subtle and absurd, and Murray and company make it work so well. What could be a throwaway line in any other comedy are brilliant asides in this movie. There's also several WTF moments that are thrown in as well. I think the cast is terrific, even those that are in minor roles, and there's some before they were stars appearances by some people. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but the dynamic of the dysfunctional trio is played to perfection by Murray, Davis, and Quaid, and Jason Robards is also very terrific as the straight-laced NYPD detective who's trying to track them down. I just think that the timing is also just pitch perfect in this film. The movie has a really quick pace, and it transitions beautifully between scenes. There'll be lines of dialogue that lead directly into an action coming into another scene, so it's just really cleverly done that way. And overall, I just feel it's just a fun time. It's got really quotable lines and memorable characters, and I feel, and this is a hot take, that this is one of Bill Murray's best roles. So, Martin, what did you think about Quick Change?
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know that I would go so far as to call it one of Bill Murray's best, because Bill Murray has done so much really good stuff. Now,
Right.
That said, it is very fun. It's in great cast, like you mentioned, especially even in the small supporting roles. And there's one person I really want to single out because he cracked me up almost every time in the supporting roles. But what I like about it is this is the type of movie, and it's kind of, you mentioned the year it came out, 1990.
Right.
And this is a perfect sort of comedy of that era. It kind of the end of the almost, and I'm not saying the complete end, but it's just they don't make them as much as they used to. This type of movie, which is sort of fish out of water, make it up as you go along. This is in the long line of Beverly Hills Cop, and just like the hero in Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase does movies like this a lot, where you have a character who is not afraid to just go with it, right? And the sheer force of confidence gets them through a movie. You know what I mean? And so
Right, right,
this kind of movie was classic in that era, and so this is certainly another really funny one in that same group of movies. And Bill Murray's is perfect for this particular part and being able to think on his feet. I mean, you can imagine, I guess Bill Murray being from what improv career and SNL and his comedic style, uh, perfect for this type of role in real life. Like this, you can imagine him
right.
being this person. You know what I mean? And being able to
This
make it
bank
up,
robber
just make it up as you go.
who's deadpan
Right?
but can get out of any situation just based off his wits. Right, right. I
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it was really it's like everything is like he took it seriously enough to be believable and yet hilarious too, because just the little small lines of dialogue here and there, like what kind of clown are you? Like, I guess the kind that cries on the inside. you know,
yeah,
stuff like that.
that's
It's
true.
just like very funny, but at the same time believable enough that that it's plausible enough to be, even though it's absurd. The comedy in the film is very absurd,
Hmm.
but it's grounded in these believable enough performances to invest you in it.
Yeah, that's what I think makes it work. It's like I originally was going to say that it's a subtle comedy, but it's absurd at the same time. So it's not really subtle.
Right.
It's and it's
Right.
it's the serious tone of the way that the characters, the situation they're in, and the way they react to it. But it's the way they react to it that makes it so funny. These like just comments that just kind of don't
Yeah. Yeah.
really like impact the scene, but are just hilarious in the way that they throw them out there. Um, I want to ask you,
Totally. Totally.
which minor character you wanted to single out? I wanted to. I'm curious to know which
Uh,
one.
I wanted to go. I want to go with Bob Elliott, because every
Oh
time
yes,
Bob Elliott is recounting to the police the bank robbery, he's always talking about how he manhandled them, and how he
right,
but for this crazy thing, he got the upper hand on him somehow, which
yeah,
of course, if you watch the very beginning of the movie, is completely ridiculous the way he
yeah,
recounts these stories. But every time he does it, it cracks me up, because like, at one point he's saying, I told him to get the hell out of here, and I slapped him, and then when something happened, something crazy happened, and he makes an excuse
right.
for
He pulled
how,
a knife on him, and he had
yeah,
to like fight him off, and
it was
yeah,
a Bowie knife,
yeah, yeah. And yeah, so Bob Elliott plays the bank guard in the film, and he's actually Chris Elliott's father. For those that don't know who he was, but yeah, I think he is hysterical in this film, and I was cracking up at that too. Same stuff.
And
Um,
one of the other, who's one of probably maybe the best actor in the whole movie. I mean, it's just tough because there's a lot of great ones. Is Stanley Tucci's performance? You know, Stanley Tucci is fantastic actor. He's unbelievable actor. But this is obviously early in his career. But he is so funny as the the guy, the mob doorman, basically.
yeah, I love the fact that that whole scene is basically Stanley Tucci like repeating
Yes.
lines, like he's like the translator, but they're having a conversation in the same room. And it's like you tell him that nobody
Exactly.
messes with so and he's saying it verbatim, and it's just
Right.
hysterical. So
But then
yeah,
when he thinks about it for a moment, they're about to foil Bill Murray's story, right? They're about to foil it, but then he's the one who turns it around and allows it to
yeah.
actually work, because and that turn is hilarious, you know.
And just
So
his introduction when he walks in, when they walk in the door and he puts a gun to one side, it's like, this ain't my dick in your back.
yeah,
And he's like, Bill Murray's like, oh, thank God for
yeah, exactly.
that.
That's a relief.
Yeah, that's really what things. Yeah, yeah. But there's so many like cool, like just throwaway, like things. Like I said, like it doesn't necessarily have anything directly to do with the scene, but they're just like these little off little jokes. Like
Yeah.
my favorite is when Bill. So for the people that haven't seen the film, and I'm not giving much away because like I said, the heist is actually the easy part of the film. Um, he dresses up like a clown, but he escapes by acting like he was one of the hostages in the bank. And when he gets out, he's talking to Jason Robards, detective cop character, but he's like trying to be like really annoying so that Jason Robards will like kind of just
Get rid of them. Right.
get rid of him and not want to deal with him. And he's like trying to make like him as the clown sound awful. He's like, yeah, he said to Phyllis, he said, up your butt with a coconut. And he's like, and he goes, except I saw no coconut. He had no coconut to my knowledge. It's just like,
Right.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this. It just like, and then there's the one when they're in this apartment because it was like Phyllis's old apartment. She was renting it to somebody else, and they weren't expecting the new tenants to be there, and they come in, and Phil Hartman is one of the new,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
owner of the apartment, and this was before he was big too, and he holds him up at gunpoint, and um, Geena Davis is like just like saying like our plane leaves in 41 minutes, like they don't have time for this, and he goes, no codes.
Yeah.
Like that's your
Yes. Yes.
like they're robbing your house. You think they're robbing your house, and they have got codes and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
It's
No,
just
it's there's so many things, and one of the better things, watching this again, I it's very nostalgic because being so young when it first came out and
Mhm.
enjoying it then, but then seeing it again and seeing, and remembering how awesome some of these people are that you don't see very much anymore, like Gina Davis. I mean, how
Right,
great is Gina Davis? She is fantastic, and even though she's basically, you know, in some ways the sidekick to Bill Murray, but she's the glue actually that keeps the momentum of this movie going, even with this little secret that she's
right.
afraid to talk about, and the way she holds that the whole time, and it
And her
was,
reactions are just terrific too. Just like,
she's
like,
got one of the funniest lines too. Is like when they're near the airport,
oh yeah,
and he's like, and I'm not gonna, say because this is actually in the trailer, but is that our plane? And she's like, no, because if it was our plane, it would crash.
yeah, yeah. And then you mentioned like how it was like a movie of its time, and not just thematically and just like how it was put together. It's also a movie that could only take place
Right.
then.
Absolutely.
It could
Right.
not take place now because
No, no way.
all the things that we have and take for granted now, like Google Maps and
Or
cell phones
even
and
caller
everything, and
ID, right? Even caller
RID,
ID.
yeah, yeah, like none of it could happen. So it does kind of like transport you back a different era, a little gentler
Yeah.
era almost. Um, and it just feels comfortable. It's a very comfortable movie. Like,
Totally. No, no, I totally. You're right about the timepiece because even the airport, they were concerned about a particular thing, and obviously they would never be able to do what they did to get to the plane, even these
right,
days with how the airports
exactly.
work. But yeah, all kinds of little things like that make it a time capsule movie, so to speak, and again, just a fun piece, and again, I don't agree that it's his best work, just
Well,
because
I
he's
didn't
done
say it was
so
his best
much.
one. I said one of his best roles.
Okay, okay. Are we talking top 10? If that's the case,
It's
maybe.
definitely a top 10. It's definitely top
Yeah.
10. It might be
Okay.
top
Okay.
5 for me. I
Okay.
just love how he's so deadpan in this movie. He's almost to the point of like depressed but optimistic at the same time. Like I don't know how he like straddles that line, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like
Right.
he's so fed up with his situation in life, but this is his opportunity to get out of it.
Hmm.
And it's almost like he feels like he deserves to be in this predicament
Right.
that he's
Right.
in, even though
No.
it's so crazy absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. And what I did dig about his characters is kind of in the writing and like organized he was, even above his his partners in crime.
Yeah.
Because as part of the plan, they knew what they were supposed to do, and they did their part, and then things, curveball happens, but he's ready for the curveball, and it kind of,
Right.
and it shows that he's actually really invested into this ploy that they're doing, and is way ahead of the game, which is what helps you believe that he could get ahead of the game in the other situations that they get thrown into,
Right.
because he didn't leave anything to chance, the whole time, and it's a good piece of writing to show that about his character. That helps you believe that he's got the wits about him to really get him out of some of these crazy situations.
Right. I also wanted to point out some of the other minor characters that we haven't mentioned. I mean, we mentioned Stanley Tucci and Phil Hartman, but Tony Shalhoub is
Yeah, yeah,
hysterical as the cab driver who doesn't speak.
English.
He
Yeah,
speaks some language that nobody
yeah,
understands. And
yeah.
it's so funny.
It's definitely not another language either. It's
Yeah,
not. It's
it's like,
something different.
and I just like love the bluff tume, bluff tume, and then Jason Robards like he was on the bluff tume. Like he doesn't say the bus, like which he
Right,
figures out what it is. He says bluff. So it's just those little moments that I think it's just like, and he says it so just matter of factly that you might not have noticed it if you weren't paying
right,
attention. But
right.
I love about it. But then it goes so far off the other direction with these really bizarre, absurd moments. Like there's like a scene where two men are jousting on bicycles,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, but it's so bizarre, and it's just like,
So bizarre. Yeah, yeah,
and like it's just out of nowhere, and it's just like it just adds to the absurdity of the moment. And I love like Randy Quaid's reaction to that, and I can't remember the exact line of dialogue, but he's like, it's bad luck even seeing a thing like that,
exactly, exactly. And he turns the
He
car
freaks
around, and
out.
what? But see, that crazy scene is so funny because it's also ridiculous. They're someplace they don't know where they are. It's like how are these people living in the city to
Right.
this extent that they're so fed up with the city, and yet they don't have any clue where they actually are. It's like
And the
ridiculous.
mo the more absurd thing about it is Bill Murray's character is established as a city planner.
Right.
So he should he should know this stuff, but I digress. I think I don't think you don't want to think too hard about that. I think
No, but it's what makes it even sillier is like, are
yeah,
you kidding me? These people
right,
live here supposedly. They've driven to the spot that they're
right.
in and have to leave, and yet they don't know where they are. It's just part of the absurdity. And
Yeah,
like you said, it's so absurd in some cases, and then yet grounded just enough to let you keep following it.
yeah, and be invested, yeah.
Right.
And then, another, actor that's in it is Kurtwood Smith, who
Yeah.
many might know as, Red Foreman from that '70s show. He's great in it too.
Definitely.
I won't give away his character, but he's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then I also liked, and I don't know the actor's name, but the guy whoever played the bus driver was terrific
Yes.
as well. It's like this bus driver who like strictly obeys every single rule imaginable, and he won't let them
Yeah.
get on the bus unless he's got exact change, even though he's like trying to give him like hundreds of dollars
Yes.
instead.
Yes.
And he physically stops the bus when Bill Murray steps one foot across the white
The white
line.
line, exactly.
This is funny. Yeah,
No, he's hilarious too, for sure, for sure.
I
And
just
then
think
in later even it's he hold they keep the whole time. They don't just keep him in that mode when it's to serve the hilarity of the Bill Murray situation, but even after that, he's still in that mode, which is like at one point people have to get off the bus, and he's like, make sure they all have their transfer, or else
yeah,
they won't get back on the bus. You know what I mean? He's like, they're being physically removed by authorities from the bus, but he wants them to know that they're not getting back on that bus if they don't have the transfer.
right.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's just oh, and then one other thing I didn't point out was that the cinematographer for this film was Michael Chapman, and he did Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, The Fugitive. He's done some very impressive stuff, and
Right, right. Yeah.
I think it adds to this a little bit. I mean, there's nothing spectacular in this that you'd be saying like, "Wow, that was shot like great," but the tone of it and the attitude of it, and it gives you the very feel of New York City at that time before it went through its,
Yes,
you
and
know,
I think yeah, that's the point. The point that I was going to make about him. I was surprised to see that, but at the same time, he captures New York the way you expect New York to be captured on film. You know what I mean? So he
mhm.
has so much experience shooting New York, and I think that really served the film
In New
well
York at
because
that time, and it really felt like it did
right,
feel like the Taxi Driver like type
right,
of
hmm
gritty New York, right?
yeah,
Not the Times Square New York, right?
right, right.
Or Madison Avenue or anything like
Well,
that.
gritty to an extent, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, gritty for a comedy, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
dirty, it's
Right, right,
real,
right,
there's trash on the streets, that type of thing.
right,
Oh, and
right.
then there's, like, even the scene at the beginning when he was walking to, he's walking to rob the bank, Bill Murray, and wearing his clown costume, he goes past a strip club, and the guy's like,
Yes,
"Men welcome, women welcome, clowns welcome."
yes,
Just like
and and also the other details like that, just the little things, like for instance, when it's clear that there's a hostage situation and there's going to be a big crowd gathered to see what's going to go down at the bank,
mhm.
and then you've got these competing hot dog carts trying to get there to sell hot dogs
Yeah.
because this is going to be a big event, right? And just that, little things like that are just hilarious.
And just like some of the another subtle joke, and I know I'm listing off subtle jokes, and you should really watch the movie if you haven't watched the movie, and I hope I'm not giving too much away. I'm not giving much away of the plot, but I'm giving away a lot of these funny jokes. But I love it when the Jason Robards character comes into the building and all the reporters are asking him questions, and they're like absurd questions. They're like,
Yes,
"We heard that you sent men to the sewers. How much time did you waste in the sewers?" And he's like, he walks in and he's like, "Where do these people come up with these things?" And while he's saying that, he walks by two police officers who are obviously in the sewer because
yes,
they're all dirty. And
yes. That yes, exactly. That
yeah,
was hilarious. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, and Jason Robards, of course, keeps the movie
yeah.
alive with his energy. This
His straight man is so good. I
yeah,
mean, he's funny as the straight man. You know what I mean? Like he's not trying to be funny, but his
right.
his reactions and his attitudes are what makes it funny.
Definitely, definitely. No, and everybody top to bottom was fantastic in the film. So that's what keeps it, I guess, into because it could go wrong. This kind of movie, the one of the things why I think they don't do this kind of movie anymore is that uh, the tone of it, if you don't catch it and you don't do it just
Right.
right, people hate them. You know what I mean? It gets so ridiculous or something like that.
Well, you need to have a personality as affable as Bill Murray to pull it
right.
off too, right? And that's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
say this is one of its like best performances. Like to me, like he pulls it off in a believable way, even though the situations are so absurd, and he could come off as a not likable
yep,
character and
yep.
in a lesser actor's hands. And he's
Sure.
not. He's totally charming in this.
Right. No, again, yeah, I think that's what I'm saying that it has to be why these movies I don't believe are made as much as they used to be is because of the fact that they're so easily to go wrong and you don't know who can pull these off. Like Eddie Murphy can pull these off. Bill
Mhm.
Murray can pull these off. You know, Chevy Chase at one point could pull these things off, but
Right.
not everybody could. And then we found that out later, and so we don't see these kind of movies as much anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's just a shame to me that this was really like we talk about forgotten films, and to me, this one is a truly forgotten film. Like most people love Bill Murray, but do you? Most people don't even know this movie exists. A lot of people don't even like never
I
heard of
know
this.
there's, I know some really like hardcore film fans do appreciate this film a lot. I've seen filmmakers talk about this film, like comedy filmmakers talk about this film before. But you're right, the
Mhm.
general audience, I don't believe really remembers this movie.
No, and it flopped at the box office. I mean, it wasn't a
Right.
success at the box office, and I have a feeling that might be why Bill Murray has never directed a movie after this. But
Right.
um, I mean, if that's the reason, it's kind of a shame because I think this is like very underrated movie, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I agree. It's definitely underrated. But you're right. Eh, the thing about them is that you do starring roles in Ghostbusters, which are wildly successful. Then you try your hand at directing something which is a little less mainstream, and
Right.
yet, but still playful and offbeat. And then it doesn't work, and then you don't get that chance again, and maybe you get a little disillusioned and wonder if maybe you can't pull it off. But I think he did pull it off as a director too, or as a co-director, I guess.
Co-director, yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Well, that might be part of it too. Like maybe, yeah. I mean, we're just making assumptions at this point,
right,
but yeah, yeah. I mean, the fact that they co-directed it, I mean, maybe he didn't want to go through that experience again. Yeah, like not that I'm saying that he didn't like being co-director, but maybe that's why he had a co-director was because
right,
trying to act in something and direct it. Um, you know,
totally. Yeah, I think. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's a shame to me. It's a shame that movies this fun aren't made as much anymore. It seems.
right?
There's a different kind of movies. Obviously, things change, but yeah, I mean, it would be refreshing to see this again. This kind of film attempted again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't. And what I like about it is it doesn't feel cynical. Even like even though there are some things that they point out that could easily like even though like Bill Murray is kind of a cynical character in this, the movie
Right.
itself does not feel cynical, right?
Right. No. No.
It,
Exactly.
even though he says he doesn't like New York, he wants to get as far away from New York as possible. He still has that affinity for it because there's like the whole scenes where they're like redeveloping old buildings, and he's like oh they have to tear this one down too,
Right.
longs for the days of like the original New York, not the New York that it became. So maybe he would enjoy
Definitely.
New York more now.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Who
Definitely.
knows? Maybe he would be hated even more because now it's all commercial and I don't.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, again, yeah, it's a good choice. I do agree with you that the general audience probably doesn't remember much about this film, if at all.
Yeah,
As big a star as Bill Murray is, um, but yeah. So I do think it's a worthy forgotten film in that regard, and it is very enjoyable. I'll just say, top 10 for sure. I'll give you that. But I don't know even about top five, but we'll see. We'll see. I'd have to think about that
we might
more.
need to do a top three podcast about the top three Bill Murray roles.
Could be,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, no, yeah. So I guess that does it about does it for this one. I really wanted to bring it up just because I like the movie a lot, and I just happened to like remember it the other day, and I was like, let's do that one because I want to get you know first I wanted to do a comedy, and B I wanted to get this maybe put in people's heads that they should check it out.
No, definitely. I
Although
think
it's
that's a
kind of hard to
yeah.
find. It's not hard to find. You have to pay for it. It's
But
not
you do
on
have to
any
pay for it.
streaming
It's
service.
not on any streaming platform. Yeah, which is it's crazy to think because it might show up on HBO Max because it is Warner Brothers, as far as I
Right.
know. So I'm surprised it wasn't on HBO Max, but
Right.
it may wind up on there eventually.
It
But
just shows you how criminally underrated it is. It's not even on a streaming platform. Not even like
I
Tubi
yeah,
or Pluto or something like that, right?
yeah,
The,
that's
the
amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
that is amazing. But again, yeah, I think you're right though. It's if people haven't seen it and they just want something fun, take a look. It's certainly worth your time to watch this. It'll make you feel good.
I personally bought it because I've now rented it enough times that I should have just bought it in the first place. So
No, you're probably right. You're
yeah.
probably right.
Well, all right. That wraps it up for this episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. Want to thank you again uh, for sharing and commenting wherever you listen to this. If you can, we really appreciate that. Also, want to thank Eureka Failure for providing the music as they do each and every week. And then also, Martin, we should tell everybody about the movie Madness. Remind them of that again.
No, definitely. This is a really fun event we're doing with the tournament. Obviously, March Madness coming up soon. We're getting a jump on it with sports movies, and everybody loves to vocalize about movies. So be sure you get on at Cinema ATL Podcast on Instagram and follow us and vote for your favorite sports movie so that we can determine once and for all what's the fan favorite.
Yes, and we'll be having new votes every other day. So, if you miss one, you can come back the next day, and it will have a new one to vote for. Actually, we're doing 4 at a time right now, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it plays out. And you just go to our Instagram, go to our stories, and you can vote there and vote for your favorite. It's real easy. Just tap it. All you got to do. Give us your opinions. We'd love to hear it. Anyway, Martin, before we go, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I'm not quite ready to go rogue on you, Mike.
No,
so
not yet.
No, not yet. It's getting close though. There's some things I could say, but I'm not. I'm gonna say, hey, be kind, rewind, and watch Quick Change.
There we go. All right, everybody. It's been a blast. We'll see you next time on the Cinema ATL Podcast.